Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. A big happy Mother's Day shout out to all of the moms listening today. I hope everyone was able to celebrate the day in some form or fashion over the weekend. And of course, welcome back to Witchy Work Wishes. So I've got a question for you right here out of the gate. Have you seen all of those quizzes floating around? The ones that tell you what archetype you are? They have you answer a handful of questions and, suddenly you are the creator or the caregiver or the rebel. And you're like, okay, that actually feels kind of accurate. Now, I have not actually taken one of those tests, but I've done something like it in the past. They're cute. They're fun. But they are also tapping into something real. Or, gosh, I hope they are tapping into something real. I think many of the quizzes are based on the work of Carl Jung. But oh my goodness, do not quote me on that one. But Carl Jung brought this idea of archetypes into the way we understand personality and behavior. He outlined some of the main ones, that show up again and again. Things like the innocent, someone who is hopeful, optimistic, wants things to feel safe and good. The explorer, kind of a freedom seeker, someone who is curious, kind of always looking for more. The sage, someone who is wise, knowledgeable, kind of a truth seeker. The hero, right, an action taker, someone who overcomes challenges, very driven. The outlaw and rebel, a disruptor, maybe rule breaker, a change maker. The magician, someone who works with transformation, manifestation, and energy work. The everyday man, the regular person, people who are grounded, relatable, belonging. The lover, someone with a lot of connection, passion, beauty, emotional depth. The gesture, someone who is playful, has humor, there's a lightness to them, there's a lot of joy. The caregiver, someone who is nurturing, supportive, protective. The creator, someone with a big imagination, a lot of building and bringing ideas to life. And the ruler, someone with a lot of leadership and structure, control, and a lot of responsibility. Carl Jung talked about all of these in the different ways we move through the world, like different energies we step into depending on what we're doing and what we're building and what we're moving through in our lives at the time. And while I'm no Carl Jung expert, what I do like about his work is that I don't think he ever meant for us to feel boxed in by these. We're not just one thing. We're not just one archetype that we pick and stay in forever. We move between them. We shift depending on the seasons we're in, the phase we're in, whatever version of ourselves is being called forward at the time. So the quizzes are fun, right? They are definitely fun. And they can help illuminate the phase that we are currently in. But it got me thinking, because in our witchy world, we have our own way of looking at this too. Not that his archetypes don't exist. I think they do, absolutely. But in my personal practice, and with my strong connection to the power of three, I find myself coming back again and again to something a little more cyclical and a little more rooted in nature. And that is the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. These aren't just labels. For me, they really are phases. They're energies. They are rhythms that we move through over and over again in our lives, sometimes over years, sometimes within the same month. Some of you right now are saying, please, I've had it in the same day, which I get. I really, really do. But with Mother's Day just happening, I really wanted to sit with that middle space for a minute. The mother. And not just what we've been told it means, but what it actually feels like to live in that energy and to create, and nurture, to hold, and to sustain something over time. But first, let's talk about what is happening over here at Witchy Work Wishes for a quick minute, because I have something coming up that I'm super, super excited about. I am heading out this coming weekend, and I'm going to Chicago on Thursday to see my boys. We are turning it into a full, long weekend together, which just feels like the biggest, sweetest gift, especially landing right around Mother's Day. Like, truly, this is it for me. This is the good stuff. I've shared before how close the three of us are, and honestly, about 3 to 4 months is my limit. That's really as long as I can go before I start feeling it deep in my bones. Like, okay, I need my boys. I need that time together. Of course, I wish we all lived in the same town and I could, or they could, just pop over whenever we wanted. But right now, we are doing life across the country. So our time together becomes really intentional. Like it's planned, it's organized. And when it happens, it really does mean everything. So this trip is going to fill me right back up again. It is going to carry me through the next couple of months until we meet up again for our annual summer mountain trip, which really is something I look forward to every single year. And then after that, there's going to be a bit of a stretch before they come home for Yule. So, for our calendar 2026, as it stands right now, we will get 4 of these moments. They were just out to California at the end of February. So we'll have 4 planned trips overall, spaced out throughout the year. But, each one feels like its own little anchor point for me, something to look forward to, something that fills my mom cup all the way with love and connection and those little everyday moments that you just can't recreate any other way. So I am soaking this one in already. And then we have another kind of family love happening right now, not just in my personal world, but in our circle here at Witchy Work Wishes. This month, we are working with the starfish spirit. It carries that, spirit element energy, very expansive, intuitive, and very, very intentional. If you've already had a chance to move through the worksheet, I would love to hear what came up for you. Because for me, this one got real in the most beautiful way. I actually went down to a local aquarium so I could sit with this energy in person. You'll see a picture of it over on Patreon. Living here on the coast of California, you would think I would just run into starfish all the time at the beach, but it doesn't really work like that. So I made it intentional. I chose the space, I slowed down, and I spent time with them. And something clicked, or maybe not clicked. That's not the right word. Something finalized. Now, with our Patreon tiers, you guys already know each level works with the animal spirit of the month, but each one takes you a little deeper, right? It builds layer by layer. So, wherever you are in that journey, you're doing meaningful work. But if you're in our Enchanted Entrepreneurs space, you are really walking the full path all the way into that grimoire packet. So I had the chance to move through all of it for May ahead of time, of course, right? Every step, every layer, every piece of it. I am doing this work right alongside you. And it confirmed. It confirmed something that I've been sitting with for a while now. The starfish spirit did not show up by accident. It came right now in this moment for a reason. I really believe that. Because at the same time, I've been feeling this pull shift, especially around Hearth and Hen. I've talked about it a little bit, about it evolving, becoming what it's meant to be. And I've been sitting with that energy, turning it over, letting it unfold. And then, of course, Beltane came in, and that Scorpio full moon. I just lit everything up exactly where it needed to, like a spotlight, really. And in that moment, it became really clear. We are opening up our circle to live gatherings. Now, if you are newer here and you haven't stepped into Hearth and Hen yet, it is the more personal side of Witchy Work Wishes. It is the bulk of the videos, behind the scenes, the fire pit, the kitchen, the readings, all of it. And after working in that space for the past 6 months, showing up and sharing, I realized something really, really important. It was never meant to be just for me. It was always meant to be for us. And I don't know, I guess I needed to go through the past 6 months and, figure it out for myself, but I did. So this month in May, at the end of May, we are starting something new. And I cannot wait to bring you into it. I'll give you a quick sneak peek. It is roughly going to look like a live gathering, not just here on the podcast, not just, through the posts and the comments, but together in real time in shared space. These are going to be intimate, intentional, very much in the energy of what we already do together. just brought to life in a new way. Think, firelight conversations, seasonal rituals, quiet moments to reflect. Space, though, just to talk about what's coming up in your work and your life and your practice, and actually be held in that energy together. I do not want to force this into a schedule that feels rigid. I really would like it to just stay organic, the way Hearth and Hen has always wanted to be. Oh, sharing our space with each other, just in our own personal homes. Very much like the starfish spirit, open, expansive, reaching out in multiple directions, allowing connection to happen in more than one way. So if you have been listening for a while, if you've been doing the worksheets and the spells and the rituals, if you've been building something in your own life or business, this is your invitation to step a little closer into the circle, to be seen, heard, and just share space with others who get it, like really get it. We are going to start small. We're going to feel it out together and just kind of let it grow naturally, just like everything else we've built here. If this has been calling to you, if you've been craving a little more connection, a little more real-time magic, come and take a look at our Patreon and find the space that feels right for you. There are so many different levels to work with, and each one really is designed to support you in its own way throughout the month. I would love for you to join us in the circle of Hearth and Hen, of course. Let's see, I'll have posts going up on Patreon with all of the details, how the live gatherings will work, how to join, what to expect. You will have everything. And just so you guys know, this is really home energy. Like in my jammies, no makeup, messy bun, or I don't know, it might be hopping on right after a work day that has a more corporate feel. It's going to be whatever it is. More than likely, you will see me in a baseball cap most of the time because that seems to be my comfort zone for weekends. But I don't know. Sometimes it might be with a firelight or just a quiet night. I don't know. Hearth and Hen is really personal. It's not polished. It is not perfect. It is raw and real. And it's us, though. It's us as witches showing up for each other in a space that feels like home. So, anyways, I'm excited. Watch for the post on Patreon. I'm just really, really happy to bring this forward. And you know what? That right there, that is actually the perfect place to begin what we're talking about today. Because when I think about Hearth and Hen, when, I think about gathering like that, creating space, holding space, showing up as we are, there is a very specific energy woven all the way through it. It is nurturing and steady and supportive. It's the kind of energy that says you are safe here, you are held here, and you can grow here. And that is mother energy. Not just the traditional sense, right? Not just in the like physical role of being a mom, but in the deeper archetypal way. The energy of creating space for something to live and breathe and become. We all carry that energy in different ways in how we care for others, how we build our businesses, how we show up for work, our homes, our communities, really how we show up for ourselves. So today we are going to step into that. We are going to talk about the mother archetype and what it really looks like, how it shows up in our lives, and how we can start working with it more intentionally, especially in the spaces that we are creating and holding every single day. So sit back and relax. I am so glad you're here with me today in this topic. This episode is all about the maiden, the mother, and the crone, with a little Mother's Day reflection. So where does this idea of the maiden, the mother, and the crone actually come from? Well, the concept is deeply connected to old pagan traditions, especially those tied to the cycles of nature, the seasons, and the phases of the moon. You'll see echoes of this three-part structure in many ancient cultures, particularly in Celtic and Greek mythology, though, where goddesses often appeared in three forms, representing the different stages of life, power, and wisdom. Now, the specific framework of Maiden, Mother, Crone, as we talk about it today, really came forward through some more modern witchcraft and contemporary pagan traditions, especially Wicca, around the mid 20th century. This was a time when people were reclaiming older spiritual ideas and reshaping them into practices that felt more accessible, more personal, and more lived. So, what we're working with now is both ancient and modern. It's rooted in those old ways of understanding cycles, but it's also something we've been invited to interpret for ourselves. And I think that's part of what makes it so powerful, and probably why so many of us feel drawn to it. Because this isn't about rigid roles, it really is about recognizing patterns, recognizing that we are always moving through phases of beginning, creating, and sustaining, and then releasing and transforming. And those phases don't just happen once in our lifetime. They happen again and again in our work, in our relationships, in our growth, in our magic. Now, I know I just mentioned Wicca, and you guys know me. I am not Wiccan. I'm not religious. I do not practice Wicca in the traditional sense. But I do think it's important to say Wicca really helped popularize the Maiden, Mother Crone model in our modern spirituality. Within that practice, it is often tied to the triple goddess, the moon phases, waxing full and waning, and the natural cycles of life, really. So, if someone learned witchcraft through Wicca, this is probably how they were first introduced to it, but it really is older than that. The idea of triple feminine energy shows up in many ancient traditions, long, long, long before modern Wicca existed. You see it in the Celtic triple goddess. You see it in figures like Hecate in Greek mythology. And in that natural pattern of birth, life, and death and renewal. What Wicca did was give it some structure, right? It gave it language and really made it easier for us to work with today. But the way you are working with it, that's personal, just like it is for me. You're not locked into a religion or system just because you resonate with this framework. You are working with cycles, with phases, with energy shifts, and with the power of three, which is something witches have been doing across many different paths for a really long time. And that energy of three, it shows up everywhere. Three phases of the moon, three stages of life, three aspects of creation, growth, and release. It is a pattern that feels natural, intuitive, almost like something we recognize without really even needing it explained. Like we just know. In architecture, the power of three shows up in both design and structure. There's actually a principle that things grouped in threes feels more balanced, more complete, and more visually pleasing. Designers use it all of the time. Three windows across a facade, three arches, three repeating elements, because our brains just naturally like it. It feels finished. It feels stable and intentional. But structurally, it gets even cooler. The triangle is actually one of the strongest shapes in architecture and engineering. Unlike a square or a rectangle, which can shift or collapse if pressure is aligned, a triangle, the power of three, it holds its shape. Once the sides are fixed, it can't distort without changing the length of one of the sides. That's why triangles are used in bridges, roof trusses, towers. They really distribute weight evenly and create strength without needing extra support. That same principle, it mirrors the maiden mother crone energy perfectly. Think about it, right? Maiden, beginning and spark. Mother, building, sustaining. And then crone, wisdom and completion. On their own, each is powerful. But together, they create a stable structure, a cycle that holds, a system that doesn't collapse under pressure because each phase supports the other. Okay, and it's back to the power of three with a maiden, mother, and crone. The idea of working in threes, especially with feminine energy, shows up strongly in ancient traditions. But the way we talk about maiden, mother, and crone today, I do think it is more modern. I think it is something that has been shaped and named in our more contemporary witchcraft, but it is built on those older patterns. So let's walk through these together so we can learn a little bit more about them, with our star archetype, of course, today being the mother. We'll spend the most time here since Mother's Day was this past weekend. But just know these aren't roles that we are stuck in. I really do think they are energies and, phases that we move through over and over and over again in different areas of our lives at different times and sometimes all at once. And once you start to see them that way, I think it just kind of opens everything up. First, we have the maiden. This is the energy of beginnings, curiosity, exploration, that spark of what if. It's when something is new, when you're just starting out, you're allowing yourself to dream a little bit and follow what feels exciting and interesting. There's a lightness to it for sure, a sense of possibility. At this point, you're not really worried about having all of the answers. You are just ready to begin. Then we move into the mother. This is where things deepen a little bit. The energy of creation happens, not just in the starting of something. This is the sustaining of it, the nurturing, the tending, the showing up again and again, even when it's not new anymore. This is where something starts to grow roots, where you're invested, where you care, where you're building something over time and giving your energy to it consistently. It is steady, it is committed, it is powerful in a quieter, more grounded way than the maiden. And then we have the crone. This is the energy of wisdom, of knowing, of stepping back and just seeing the bigger picture. It really is where we begin to release what no longer fits, to refine, choose differently based on, everything we've learned along the way. There is a depth here, a clarity, and just a trust in your own voice that doesn't need outside validation. And the beautiful thing about all of this is that we do not move through these just once. I think we cycle through them again and again. You might be in maiden energy with a new idea, and then mother energy in your work or your relationships, and then crone energy in a boundary you are finally ready to set. All at the same time, all the same day. This is a rhythm, it's a cycle, it's a way of understanding ourselves that moves and flows, just like everything else we work with in our practice. Okay, the maiden. Let's start, as we should, with the maiden. This is the beginning. This is that first spark. The moment where something catches your attention and you think, ooh, what is this? There is a curiosity here, a lightness. The maiden doesn't need a full plan. They really just need a starting point. This is the energy we step into when we are trying something new, opening, ourselves up to possibility, when we are allowing ourselves to follow what feels interesting and exciting, or even if it feels just a little bit different than what we've done before. This is a very playful energy. There's less pressure here, less weight. It's not about responsibility, not yet. It's about discovery here. And we move into this energy more than we probably realize. Every time you start a new project, every time you get an idea that just lights you up, every time you say, hey, maybe I could, I think that's maiden energy. So when we talk about the maiden, this energy of beginnings, curiosity, and possibility, we're not just talking about a phase. We really are talking about an energy that has been honored for centuries through different goddesses, each one holding her own version of that spark. And what I love about working with maiden energy through goddess archetypes is that it gives us something to connect to, like something to feel and call in when we are standing at the edge of something new. First, there's Persephone. She is such a powerful maiden to work with, especially when you are stepping into something that feels both exciting, maybe a little uncertain. Persephone is a goddess from the Greek mythology, and she carries one of the most powerful and really most relatable stories of transformation and becoming. She is the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and at first, Persephone is known as a maiden of spring. Light and curious, she's surrounded by flowers, standing right at the edge of something new. But spoiler alert, her story shifts. She is taken into the underworld by Hades, and everything changes. What starts as innocence becomes experience. What starts as light becomes depth. And where her story becomes really powerful, she doesn't just stay the maiden. She becomes the queen of the underworld. Persephone is really remembered for her descent into the underworld, I think, but before all of that, she is the maiden of spring. She represents that moment of innocence, of, like stepping forward without fully knowing what's coming next. And isn't that where so many beginnings live? That space where you feel called towards something, but you don't have all the answers yet. So I think working with Persephone energy invites you to trust that step, to move forward even when the path isn't fully clear, to just allow yourself to be in the becoming without needing to rush into certainty. We also have Artemis. Her maiden energy feels a little different for sure, where, Persephone is soft and unfolding. Artemis is independent. She's strong. She's deeply, deeply connected to her own path. And I'm not well versed in Greek mythology, but Artemis is one I have looked into working with. I'm drawn to her for sure. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, of the wilderness, the moon, and of independence. She moves through forests with a bow in her hand. She is surrounded by animals, completely at home in her own energy. She doesn't follow, she really bleeds herself. Artemis holds a very clear, powerful kind of maiden energy. Independence, she really doesn't answer to anyone. Instinct, she trusts her own inner knowing completely. Protection, especially of women, children, and the vulnerable. And just a strong connection to nature, very raw, untamed, and intuitive. She's deeply aligned with the moon, especially that quiet, watchful energy of moving through the dark with confidence. Artemis is the daughter of Zeus and Leto, and from the very beginning, like the very beginning, she chooses her own path. She asked for and was granted freedom, freedom to roam the wild, freedom to remain unmarried, freedom to live her life on her own terms, and she protected that freedom fiercely. If Persephone represents the maiden who is becoming, Artemis represents the maiden who already knows who she is. Working with Artemis energy is powerful when you are, starting something that requires confidence, or you need to trust your instincts over outside opinions, or maybe if you're setting boundaries and choosing your own path, and you just want to feel grounded in your independence. She reminds you that you don't have to wait for permission to begin. She is the wild, untamed maiden, the one who does not ask for permission, the one who trusts her instincts and moves through the world with a sense of sovereignty and self trust. I think working with Artemis would be super powerful when you are starting something new that requires courage, when you need to trust your own voice, your direction, your instincts, even if they don't look like anyone else's. I think she reminds you that beginnings don't always have to be gentle. Well, they can be bold, they can be self led, they can be yours. And then there is Bridget, and her maiden energy feels more like a spark. Now, we talked about Bridget with our Imbolc episode. I usually mention her each year as spring is starting. She's deeply connected to inspiration, creativity, and that first flame of something, something coming to life. Bridget is a goddess from the Celtic tradition, and her maiden energy really feels like that first flicker of something coming to life. She is the goddess of fire, poetry, healing, and creation, and she is most often connected to the Festival of Imbolc for sure, which sits right at the edge of winter and spring. That moment when everything still looks quiet on the surface, but underneath, like something is starting to stir. I think Bridget carries a very specific kind of energy. I would work with inspiration for her, ideas, creativity, that download moment that we sometimes get. Bridget carries the energy of sacred fire, the spark that begins everything. Also healing, though, gentle renewal, tending to what is ready to grow. In creation, like bringing something from nothing into form. She is that feeling when something just lights up inside of you and you absolutely know you want to follow it. If Persephone, is the maiden who steps into the unknown, and then Artemis is the maiden who just trusts herself completely, well, then Bridget is the maiden who says, let's go, create. Like, she doesn't ask you to have all the details. She doesn't want anything super perfect. She just wants you to honor the spark, tend to it, protect it, give it just enough attention so it doesn't burn out and doesn't get smothered. I think working with Bridget is going to be really beautiful if you are at the very beginning of an idea. You feel creatively called, but, unsure where it's going. Or, you just want to reconnect with inspiration. I don't know, maybe you're nurturing something small that wants to grow. She reminds you that you just don't need the whole vision, but you do need that first flame. And, of course, when you sit with these three together, Persephone, Artemis, Bridget, you start to see that maiden energy isn't just one thing. It's not just soft or just bold or only creative. It's all of it. It's the willingness to begin in whatever way that looks to you. To step forward, to explore, to trust the spark, even before it becomes something fully formed. And I love that magic. That's where it all begins. And if we look through it with the lens of nature and the cycles we work with, this is the new and waxing moon, where the light is just beginning to grow. This is spring, really, right? It's when everything is starting to bloom and stretch towards something new. And there's a touch of that airy energy here, too, if we talk about the elements. Ideas moving, inspiration flowing, that mental spark that says, what if? It's not fully formed. It's not meant to be. That's not what this phase is. It's just the beginning, and that's the beauty of it. And then we move to the mother archetype. This is where everything changes because we are no longer at the beginning. Like, we're in it. We are in it. This is the energy of tending, nurturing, and staying. The mother is not just about creating something. They are about caring for it over time. They are the ones who show up again and again, long after the excitement of the beginning has faded. They have the steady hands, the quiet strength. They are the ones who hold the vision, even on the days it feels heavy. And when I say mother, I really would like to just kind of open that definition up. This is not just about having children. This is about anything you are creating, nurturing, and sustaining in your life. Your business, your work, your relationships, your home, your healing, all of it. Even the version of yourself you are growing into right now. If you are tending something with care, if you are investing your energy into helping something grow, you are in mother energy. And this energy, it's powerful in a very different way than the maiden. Because this is where things get real. This is where the work happens that nobody always sees. This is where you're thinking ahead, holding space, making decisions, adjusting, supporting, sometimes all at once. This is the energy of consistency, of commitment, of staying connected to something even when it's not new anymore, even when it's not exciting every single day. Because this is where things actually grow roots. This is where something moves from an idea into something that has structure, something that has presence, and something that becomes part of your life. And you know what? I think this is the part that doesn't always get the recognition it deserves because it is not flashy. It is not the fun, cute beginning, that spark that is such a rush. It's the middle. And the middle is where so much of our life is actually lived. Now, of course, there is a shadow side to this energy because when we are in mother mode too long, or when we are giving without replenishing, we can start to feel it. Overgiving, burnout, caring too much, feeling like everything depends on us. That's not failure, it's just a sign that the energy needs to be rebalanced. That even in the act of nurturing others or, nurturing what we're building, we also have to remember to nurture ourselves. Because mother energy is not meant to deplete you. It's meant to sustain you just as much as it sustains what you're creating. And this is where I think so many of us are right now. Like we are holding things, we are building things, we are showing up for things that matter deeply to us. And that is sacred work, even if no one else sees it, even if it feels quiet or, like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. That's mother energy, but it's powerful. So when we step into the mother, this is where something moves from that spark into something that is being held, nurtured, and sustained over time. And just like with the maiden, we can look to goddess energy to help us feel this phase more fully, not as a role, but as a, living, breathing energy that we move through. First, I would say there's Demeter, right? And her mother energy is deeply tied to the earth, to growth and nourishment, to the cycles of planting and tending and harvesting. Demeter is the one who feeds, who sustains life, who, makes sure that what has been planted actually has what it needs to grow. Her love is steady, but it is also super powerful. Demeter is a goddess from Greek mythology, and I think she is one of the clearest, most powerful representations of mother energy that you could probably work with. She is the goddess of agriculture, the harvest, fertility of the earth, and cycles of growth and nourishment. But more than anything, I really do think she is the one who feeds and sustains life. We just talked about her being the mother of Persephone, and their story is probably one of the more well known myths of all Greek traditions. When Persephone is taken into the underworld by Hades, Demeter's grief is so deep, so all consuming, that the earth itself responds. The crops stop growing, the land becomes barren, everything goes still. And not only still, nothing returns until Persephone comes back. Demeter's energy shows us something really important about the mother archetype. Nurturing, right? She provides what is needed for growth. Connection, what she feels impacts everything around her. Devotion, her love is unwavering and powerful. In cycles, right? We've got growth, loss, return, and renewal. She teaches us that what we tend, what we nurture, what we give our energy to, has real impact. Working with Demeter is especially meaningful, I think, if you are going to be building something over time. Maybe you are caring for something, that depends on you, or you are in a season of growth and responsibility, learning how to balance giving and sustaining yourself. She reminds you that mother energy is not just about giving, though. It's about staying connected to what you are growing. Isis is another deity that has a lot of mother energy. With her, it feels like devotion, though, I think, like loyalty, like, doing whatever it takes to hold something together. Isis is known for her magic, her healing, and her determination. In her story, she pieces her partner back together, restores life, and protects her child with unwavering focus. Isis is one of the most beloved goddesses from ancient Egyptian mythology, and her energy carries a deeply devoted, protective, and powerful form of mother energy. She is the partner of Osiris and the mother of Horus. In her story, Osiris is killed and his body is scattered. And instead of giving up, instead of collapsing under the weight of that loss, Isis goes on a journey to find every piece of him. She gathers them and she puts him back together. She uses her magic to restore life. And then she protects her son Horus, raising him in secret, shielding him until he is strong enough to step into his own power. So Isis shows us a very real, very human side, I think, of mother energy. A devotion, right? She does not walk away from what she loves. Resilience. She continues even when things fall apart. Protection, right? She creates safety for what she is nurturing. And resourcefulness. She finds a way, even when the path isn't clear. I think she teaches us that mother energy isn't just gentle. It's fierce, determined. It is deeply committed. So, working with Isis can be especially powerful if you are holding something together during a very hard season, if you are maybe rebuilding after something has broken, if you are protecting something that matters deeply to you, or you just need strength, clarity, and resilience. I think she is going to meet you in the moments where things aren't easy, and she just reminds you that you can keep going. And then there's Gaia. Her energy is vast, like she is Earth. She is Earth herself, the ultimate mother, the one who holds everything, supports everything, contains everything. She doesn't force growth, she allows it, and provides the space, foundation, and environment for life to unfold in its own time. I think Gaia is one of the oldest and most foundational goddesses in Greek mythology. Um, really, everything just grows from her. Everything is held by her. And ultimately, in our power of three, everything returns to her. In the beginning, before the gods we usually think about, there was Gaia. She is considered a primordial goddess, meaning she existed at the very start of creation. From her came the sky, the mountains, the sea, and many of the gods themselves. She is foundational, like the ground beneath everything. Gaia holds a very deep, expansive form of mother energy. So with her, I think we can lean into stability, right? She supports everything without wavering, nurturing. Life actually grows because she holds it. Patience. Nothing is rushed with her, right? Everything unfolds in time. And connection. Like all living things are a part of her. Gaia teaches us that growth doesn't have to be forced. It just when the conditions are right. So if you want to work with her, I think she's going to be especially supportive if you feel overwhelmed or ungrounded. If you're building something long term, you need patience with a process that's just taking time. Or maybe you want to reconnect with your body in the present moment. I think she brings you back down to earth, like literally and energetically. She reminds you that you just don't have to hold everything on your own. Like you are already being held. And then when you sit with these three together, Demeter, Isis, Gaia, you start to feel the full depth of mother energy. Right? It is not just nurturing, it is sustaining, it is protecting, it is holding something long enough for it to become real. And that is the kind of magic that changes everything. And then we move into the crone. And this energy feels different for sure. It's quieter, deeper, more still. This is where we begin to step back, where we are no longer in the beginning, we are no longer in the constant tending, we are in the knowing. The crone carries wisdom, not the kind you read in a book, but the kind you lived. The street smart wisdom, the kind that comes from experience, from trying things and building things and holding things and learning what actually matters along the way. There is a clarity here, a sense of, I don't need to do it that way anymore. This is where we begin to release what no longer fits, old patterns, old expectations, the things we thought we had to carry but don't anymore. There's a refinement in this energy, a simplification, really a coming back to what feels true and letting the rest just fall away. There is also something really powerful here, specifically when it comes to boundaries. The crone does not over explain. They don't seek permission. They trust what they know and they move accordingly. And I think that's something so many of us grow into over time. We start to listen to ourselves more, don't we? We start to honor our energy more. We start to choose differently, not because we're forced to, but because we've learned enough to know we can. And just like the maiden and the mother, we don't arrive here once and stay forever. We move into crone energy every time we make a clear decision and set a boundary or release something that no longer aligns and choose a different path based on what we've learned. This energy is always available to us. It's not about age, it's about perspective. So when we move into the crone, this isn't about endings in a heavy way. This is about wisdom. It is about seeing clearly, choosing intentionally, and trusting what you know, like know in your bones, without needing validation. And just like with the maiden and mother, there are goddesses who I think hold a little bit of this energy in such a powerful and embodied way. First, there is Hecate, and her energy is powerful. Whether you work with deities or not, I think it is universally understood that Hecate is powerful. She is the goddess of the crossroads, of magic and the unseen. Hecate stands at the in between spaces where decisions are made, where paths shift, where you are asked to choose what comes next. Her crone energy is deeply intuitive. She doesn't guess, like she knows. Hecate is a goddess from the Greek mythology, and I think she carries probably one of the more powerful forms of crone energy that we can work with. She's the goddess of magic and witchcraft, the crossroads, of course, the night and the unseen, and intuition, spirits, and those liminal spaces. But more than anything, she is the one who stands between worlds. Hecate is often shown as a triple formed goddess, three faces or three bodies looking in three different directions all at once. This isn't about age again. It really is about awareness. She sees what has been, what is, and what is coming, all at the same time. She stands at the crossroads, that place where a decision has to be made, where you can't stay where you are. You have to choose. You have to choose one path forward. Today's energy is deeply tied to the crone archetype and working with, intuition, that inner knowing that you just can't ignore, discernment, seeing clearly beyond illusion, guidance, especially in uncertain or transitional spaces, and power, just raw power, that quiet, steady, self trusting power. I think she helps teach us that we already have the wisdom, we just have to trust it. FDA is often associated with keys, for like unlocking paths and choices and hidden knowledge, torches for, kind of lighting the way through darkness, dogs really as guardianship and protection, and the crossroads, those moments of decision and transformation. So if you wanted to work with her in the crone archetype, I think it's going to be really helpful if you are at a turning point in your life or you need clarity or direction. Maybe you're releasing an old path and choosing a new one, or you are deepening your intuition and spiritual practice. I think she's just going to meet you in those in between spaces where things aren't fully clear yet, but she's going to kind of just help you trust yourself enough to move forward, anyways. Then we have the Morrigan, and her energy is fierce. She is a goddess of fate, of battle, of transformation, and of truth. The Morrigan does not soften things for comfort. She shows you what is. Her crone energy is about sovereignty, about standing in your power, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about releasing illusions and seeing things exactly as they are. The Morrigan is a goddess from the Celtic mythology, and her energy is intense. It's powerful. It is deeply transformational. She is often associated with, fate and prophecy, sovereignty and power, battle and conflict, and also death and rebirth, but not in a way that is meant to be feared. She really is like a goddess that is meant to be understood. The Morrigan doesn't soften things, she doesn't filter, she doesn't try to make the truth easier to hear. It is what it is with her. Like she shows you what is. Her presence is often going to be felt in moments of like major, major change when something is ending, shifting, or asking you to step into a stronger version of yourself. She is known to appear as a crow or raven, kind of watching from above, observing, knowing, waiting. She does not interfere, she just witnesses. The Morgan carries a very clear crone energy of truth, really seeing clearly, even when it's uncomfortable, of sovereignty, standing fully in your own power. She brings a pretty clear message of transformation. letting something end so something else can begin, and of strength, rising to meet what is in front of you. I believe she teaches us that there is power in seeing things clearly, like crystal clear, even when it changes everything. The Morgan is often connected to battles, not just like physical battles, but moments of decision and change and destiny. She doesn't always take sides. I think she reflects the outcome, really. She's tied to the idea that your choices matter, your strength matters, and really your willingness to step into your truth matters. So, working with a Morgan is going to be helpful if you are going through a major life shift. Maybe you are shedding an old identity. You need to step into your power, even if it feels uncomfortable. Or maybe you're being asked to see something clearly and act on it. She doesn't guide you gently. She is not known for that. Like, she calls you forward. So working with a Morrigan is going to be really powerful if you are stepping into your own strength, shedding that old version and just being called to rise. She reminds you that there is power in truth, again, even when it changes everything. See, we also have the Kaliak, and while she is not an actual goddess, I worked with her a little last year and feel deeply, deeply tied to her energy. So I think she still works here, even though she's not a deity. The Kaliak is a figure from Celtic mythology, often known as the Hag of Winter. And her energy carries a very different, not different, I guess ancient, a very ancient, deeply rooted form of crone wisdom. She is the keeper of winter, endings, the land in its resting, phase, and the cycles that most people don't always want to sit with. But that's exactly where her power lives. The Kaliak is not here for the bloom. She is here for the pause, for the quiet season when everything slows down and pulls inward and goes still beneath the surface. She is often described as shaping the land itself, being the one, creating the mountains, carving the valleys, controlling the storms of winter. She doesn't soften the process. She allows nature just to do what it needs to do, even when it looks barren on the outside. The Kaliak holds a very grounded form of crone energy that we can work with in regards to like endings, right? Allowing cycles to fully close with rest, honoring the need to pause and restore. She helps with stillness, trusting what is happening beneath the surface and that ancient wisdom, the knowledge that comes from time. I think the Kaliak teaches us that not all growth is visible, too. Not all seasons are meant to be productive. Working with her can be especially meaningful if you are in a slower season of life, or if, something is coming to a natural close, or if you feel called to rest, even if your mind is resisting it. But also if you are learning to trust in the quiet phases of your journey. She really is just going to meet you in the moments where everything feels still and reminds you that stillness is not emptiness, it's preparation. The Kaliak carries that deep winter wisdom and the crone energy, the kind that reminds us that not every season is meant for growth. Sometimes, really, the most important work is happening in the quiet, in the rest, in the space where everything is being prepared for what comes next. And of course, when we bring our crone trio together here, Hecate, the Morrigan, the Kaliak, we have the crone who guides you at the crossroads, the crone who shows you the truth and calls you into your power, and the crone who teaches you to trust the quiet and the endings. When we look at all three together, the maiden, the mother, the crone, you start to see the full cycle, right? The beginning, the becoming, the knowing. And we are always moving between them. We're always shifting, always evolving. And the way I've personally started to look at it in my own life, it's almost like three larger chapters. Those early years, maybe up to 25-ish, they carry a lot of maiden energy. They just do. There's discovery and curiosity and just figuring things out, trying things on, learning who you are. And then we move into that middle space, somewhere 26 to 55, right? Where mother energy really comes forward. This is where we are building and creating and sustaining. We are holding things and growing things and, showing up in a more consistent, grounded way. And then we move into those later years, 56 and on. Who knows how long we're all going to live, but, we begin to feel more of that crone energy, the wisdom, the clarity, the perspective that only comes from living through it all. But even within that, even if one energy feels more front and center in a certain season of life, I don't think we are ever just one. There are weeks and months, there are years that we move in and out of all three. You might be in maiden energy with a new mother energy in your day to day life, and then crone energy in a decision that you're making, all at the same time. It's constant. We're always in some form of movement, always shifting between beginning, becoming, and knowing. And I think once you start to see it like that, it changes the way you meet yourself in every phase. And with all of this, not just the maiden, the mother, and the crone, but the goddesses I mentioned today, I think something really beautiful starts to take shape. Because this isn't just theory, right? It's something we can feel. With the maiden, we have Persephone, Artemis, Brigid, the one who steps into the unknown, the one who trusts herself completely, the one who feels the spark of something new. With the mother, we have Demeter, Isis, and Gaia, the one who nurtures and feeds, the one who protects, fiercely protects, and holds it all together, the one who supports everything quietly beneath the surface. And with the crone, we have Hecate, the Morrigan, and the Caliac, the one who guides us at the crossroads, the one who shows us truth and calls us into our power, the one who teaches us to trust the quiet, the stillness, and the endings. Can you see yourself in there? Can you feel it? In the beginning, in the middle, in the wisdom, in the moments where you are just starting something, the moments where you're just holding everything together, and the moments where you know exactly what needs to change. Now, this is your cycle, your rhythm, your magic. You don't have to be in one phase longer than you're meant to be. You, I think, just have to be willing to meet yourself wherever you are and trust it. Trust that every phase is serving you in some way. Okay, let's bring this into our business wish space for just a quick hot minute. And not all three archetypes, but the mother one. Because if there is one place where mother energy shows up pretty strong, it's here. Not in the highlight moments, not in the big launches or the exciting beginnings, but in the middle, day to day part of our work and corporate worlds. In the part where something already exists, and now it needs to be maintained and supported and grown. This really is where mother energy lives in business. This is the energy of showing up, even when it's not exciting anymore. It is answering the emails, running payroll, checking in with your team, fixing the thing that broke again. It's the consistency, the reliability, the part of your work that doesn't always get seen, but just holds everything together. And if you are a business owner, or even just someone who holds a lot of responsibility in your role, you are already working with mother energy, whether you've called it that or not. This is also the energy of holding people, your clients, your team, your customers, your employees, thinking ahead for them, anticipating needs, creating structure so things run smoothly, even when they don't see all the moving pieces behind the scenes, right? It's emotional labor, it's leadership, and it's care. I think this is sacred work, even if it feels repetitive and heavy sometimes. I know it feels like you are doing the same thing over and over and over again, but this is what sustains what you've built. This is what allows it to grow. Now, I know, just like we talked earlier, there's a shadow side here too. Because in business, mother energy can very quickly turn into overgiving, overworking, and taking on too much, feeling like everything depends on you. And that is where burnout starts to creep in. That is where the energy gets out of balance. So, working with mother energy in a business setting isn't just about giving more, it's about sustainable nurturing. It is about asking, what am I responsible for? And what am I not? Where can I support without carrying everything? How do I create systems that hold things so I don't have to hold it all myself? Because a healthy mother energy in business doesn't drain you, it supports you and what you're building. And this is where your power really comes in. When you can stay connected to what you are creating, when you can nurture it consistently and also create space for yourself within it, let's go. That's when your work becomes sustainable. That's when it lasts. So if you find yourself in that middle space right now, showing up, pulling things together, building something over time, just take a moment and recognize it. You are not stuck in the middle, like you are in mother energy. And that is where so much of the real magic happens at work. All right, at the office, I've got something that you can do once a week, or really anytime you feel overwhelmed, stretched, too thin, or disconnected from what you are building. You don't need much, just a candle, notebook, or piece of paper, and you need a quiet moment. We are going to do a little simple mother energy ritual just to help us kind of tend what we are growing. Sit down and light your candle. Let that represent the work you are tending to right now, the thing you're holding and growing over time. Take a breath and ask yourself, what am I mothering right now? And let your answer be honest. It might be your business, it might be your team, maybe it's your family. Maybe you are mothering your own healing or your next chapter. Whatever it is, write it down. Just one thing. Then ask yourself, what does this need from me right now? Does it need more structure, more attention, more patience, more space? Write that down too. Then ask yourself, what do I need to keep holding this well? This is where we're going to bring the energy back to you because mother energy is not meant to empty you. Maybe you need rest, support, clear boundaries. Maybe you need to let something go. Whatever it is, write it down. And then just sit with your candle for a moment. Say, I tend with care, I support what grows, and I honor my energy within it. Take a breath, and when you're ready, blow out the candle. Not as an ending, but as a reminder that the work continues even when you are not actively thinking about it. All right, you guys, we've got this. This is a really good time to celebrate the mother archetype with Mother's Day that just happened. And thank you. Thank you for staying here with me and sharing this space. Okay, I do have a little poem. It's a little bit more traditional in the way we think about Mother's Day, but I'm going to go grab that and my moon update, and I'll be right back. All right, a little Mother's Day poem, and it goes. By soil and seed, by root and rain, I tend the growth through loss and gain. What once was small now stretches wide. I hold its life, I stand beside. With patient hands and heart so true, I trust in all that's breaking through. And with my steady breath in view, I grow in pace with nature's move. What I have held, what I release, returns again in quiet peace. And in this cycle, deep and true, the mother lives in all I do. Okay, the moon update for the week of Wednesday, May 13th. Well, we are down to that little itty bitty tiny sliver of a waning crescent moon. You can barely see her right now. She's quiet. She's pulling back. And we slip into the dark moon on Thursday and we sit there for a couple of days. That in between space. Pause. The exhale before something new begins. And this weekend we have a new moon. But not any new moon. We have a Taurus super new moon on Saturday. What does that mean for us and our witchcraft practices? Well, it means we slow down first, right? Before we rush into setting intentions or planting anything new, this part right here on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is about clearing and releasing and letting things fall away that we don't want to carry forward into the next cycle. This is the energetic clear out, the clean out, the emotional reset, the space making moment. Because you cannot plant into soil that's already overcrowded. And then we step into that Taurus new moon. Everything shifts into the physical. Taurus is earth, it's grounding, it's stability, it's what we can actually build and hold in our hands. And because this is a super moon, that energy is amplified. It's closer, stronger, more present in our day to day lives. So this isn't just about dreaming up new ideas. This new moon is asking, what do I want to grow that will actually last? What do I want to commit to in a real, tangible way? Where am I ready to create something steady, supportive, something that feels like it can hold me long term? This is beautiful energy for grounding your magic into your work, your routines, your finances, your home, your body. Think simple, sustainable here. Think real life magic with this new moon. So for us, I think, this week, it really is two-part. First, we soften, we release, we clear, and then we plant with rooted Taurus intention. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here, for showing up week after week, for doing this work alongside me and, listening and reflecting and building something in your own life with all of this energy that we're talking about. This space, it really only exists because of you, because we've created it together. I would absolutely love for you to come take a look at our Patreon family. That is where everything really just comes to life each month. The worksheets, the spells, the deeper dives, and now our Hearth and Hen live gathering circle. We are stepping into something new there, something very different for me, more real time, more us. So if that's been calling to you, I would love for you to just come over, find the space that feels right. But I sure would love for you to be sitting in that circle with us. Thank you again for being here today. Next week, yep, guess what? It is about our moon water. When we gather it, why we do it, and the big one for me, what we can be doing with it. How to actually use the moon water in our practices. This topic was sparked back when I did the Decluttered Witch episode, and it has been sitting with me since then. But now it's time. Till then, though, I hope you have an amazing dark moon rest of your week and a wonderful super Taurus new moon kind of energy this weekend. I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.